Beyond the Gates. Spoilers for Friday, July 24th. Heather returns, Jacob faces devastating news, and Kat reaches her breaking point. The biggest shock in Friday's Beyond the Gates episode is the return of Heather Armstrong. I think her comeback immediately raises the stakes because she isn't returning for a family reunion. She's returning to tie up loose ends. When she unexpectedly pays Joey Armstrong a visit, it's clear that business comes before anything else, even if the siblings still share their usual sense of loyalty. To me, watching Heather and Joey together is always entertaining because they understand each other better than anyone else. Even so, Joey won't be thrilled by her latest mission. He knows exactly how dangerous secrets can be, and he's fully aware that loose ends in their world usually end badly. Heather reassures him that none of her targets are connected to him personally, but I can't help wondering whether that's really the whole story. I was also thinking about another possibility. If Deanna McBride starts getting too close to the truth, she could unintentionally put herself in danger. That would leave Joey facing an impossible decision, especially if protecting Vanessa McBride means choosing between family loyalty and someone else's life. Maybe I'm wrong, but that would certainly create a compelling moral dilemma. That said, I think the more likely targets are Leah Whitmore and Ren Tolliver. Leah seems especially vulnerable because she knows enough to become a liability. Ren, on the other hand, has always appeared to be loyal hired muscle who simply follows orders. Still, I can't help wondering if he actually knows more than he's ever admitted. If that's the case, he could become just as expendable. One possibility is that Heather's mission connects to Leah's mysterious death while in custody. If that happens, it would also explain why Elon Hawthorne delivers devastating news to Jacob Hawthorne. Jacob has been determined to expose the plasma ring and bring everyone involved to justice, so losing a key witness would be a crushing setback. I think news like that could easily push him closer to the edge, especially after everything he's already endured. Meanwhile, Kat Richardson's emotional progress may come to a sudden halt. Just when it seemed she was beginning to move forward, Chelsea Hamilton's decision to live stream alongside Eva Thomas threatens to reopen every insecurity Kat has been struggling with. If Eva is simply filling in for Kat, I think Kat will still see it as something much bigger. From her perspective, it may feel as though she's being replaced, not just professionally but personally as well. Whether that's actually true or not is another question entirely, but perception often matters more than reality in soap operas. Kat already feels as though Eva has won over nearly everyone in her life: her father, her boyfriend, and now even Chelsea, the friend she trusted the most. Seeing Chelsea genuinely connect with Eva will likely feel like yet another betrayal. Chelsea will probably try to reassure Kat that the live stream isn't meant to replace her, but I don't think Kat will be in a place to hear that. To me, the tragedy is that Kat seems unable to recognize Eva for who she really is. Instead, her growing jealousy and insecurity are shaping the way she interprets every interaction. Ironically, many of the negative qualities Kat continues to project onto Eva are beginning to describe Kat's own behavior. I may be right or wrong, but this storyline feels like it's pushing Chelsea and Kat's friendship toward its biggest crisis yet. Whether they can repair the damage remains to be seen, but after this latest betrayal, at least from Kat's point of view, their relationship may never be quite the same again. Another week of Beyond the Gates is building toward a dramatic finish, and I think the writers are setting up several storylines that could collide in unexpected ways. To me, the biggest source of tension is still Haley's escalating plan against Bill. She's no longer just talking about it. She's actively pushing Randy to stay focused, which makes the situation feel much more dangerous. At the same time, Bill remains preoccupied with trying to rekindle things with Danny, even though she continues to keep him at arm's length while hiding the truth about their recent encounter. Looking ahead, the next episode appears ready to shift the spotlight onto several major confrontations. Vanessa decides it's time to question Danny about everything she's been going through. Joey is blindsided by an unexpected family reunion. Elon forces Jacob to face some difficult truths. And Chelsea's live stream with Eva stirs up emotions that Kat may not be able to keep under control. One of the biggest surprises is the return of Heather Armstrong. I honestly thought Joey believed he had put that chapter of his life behind him for good. So Heather suddenly showing up changes the entire dynamic. She makes it clear that she's back to tie up the loose ends surrounding the plasma ring investigation, and that statement immediately raises questions. I was wondering whether she's referring to Grayson, Jacob, or perhaps someone else still connected to the case. Whatever the answer, her return feels like the kind of development that could reignite an already dangerous storyline. Jacob's storyline also seems to be reaching an important turning point. Ever since his return, he's been consumed with tracking down the people responsible for his partner's death. Meanwhile, Elon has been balancing his own emotional burdens, including Isaiah's situation and Naomi's recent BRCA diagnosis. So there's already plenty weighing on everyone involved. That makes Elon's upcoming conversation with Jacob especially significant. I think Jacob desperately needs someone to challenge his mindset before his determination turns into obsession. Whether he'll actually listen is another question. Chelsea's live stream featuring Eva is another storyline that could have lasting consequences. On the surface, Kat agreed that the conversation about the organ transplant was the right thing to do. But to me, it never felt like she was completely comfortable with the idea. She has already admitted that she struggles with feeling as though Eva is gradually becoming part of the family in ways that leave her feeling replaced, particularly because of Ted and Tomas. Those insecurities haven't disappeared. They've simply been pushed beneath the surface. As the live stream unfolds, those emotions appear ready to boil over. From everything we've seen, Eva isn't intentionally trying to create problems, but perception often matters just as much as reality in a soap opera. Even if Eva does everything with the best intentions, she'll need to be careful about how her actions are interpreted because Kat is clearly reaching her emotional limit. The emotional heart of the episode may belong to Danny and Vanessa. After everything Danny has been carrying on her shoulders, Vanessa seems ready to offer the support she's been needing for quite some time. I think this conversation could finally allow Danny to lower her guard and be honest about the pressure she's been facing. If that happens, it may not solve all of her problems, but it could mark the beginning of a much-needed turning point. Overall, I think this episode is shaping up to balance mystery, emotional drama, and personal conflict exceptionally well. Heather's return could reopen a dangerous investigation. Jacob may finally be forced to confront some uncomfortable truths. Kat's insecurities seem close to exploding, and Danny might finally find someone she can truly confide in. Whether these moments lead to healing or even more chaos remains to be seen, but they certainly make this upcoming episode one to watch. I think this episode did a really good job of juggling multiple storylines while quietly setting up what feels like several major twists. At first, it looks like Naomi's diagnosis is becoming the one thing capable of bringing Danny and Bill onto the same side. No matter how much history they have, they both seem determined to support Naomi through whatever decision she makes. To me, that's one of the strongest emotional threads right now. After Danny leaves to visit Anita, Vernon sits down with Bill for an unexpected conversation. Considering everything that's happened between them, I didn't expect Vernon to offer support. He points out that Bill's repeated hospitalizations shouldn't be ignored, and even tells him he'll be there if Bill ever needs someone to talk to. It almost feels like they're turning over a new leaf. That moment is interrupted when Ariana Wood arrives to discuss the political campaign Vernon has agreed to work on through his new consulting position. Once Vernon leaves, Jacob arrives just in time to see Bill nearly collapse again. I was wondering if the show is hinting that Bill's health crisis is much more serious than anyone realizes. Meanwhile, Naomi and Andre share a conversation at Orphe Jean's, where Andre tries to smooth over the growing tension between Naomi and his wife. At the same time, Danny opens up to Anita about how uncomfortable she feels with her mother's encouragement for Naomi to move forward with surgery if that's what she chooses. Eventually, they find some common ground, proving that even difficult family conversations can end with a little understanding. Back at home, Danny discovers a mysterious bottle of champagne that supposedly arrived as a belated wedding gift. The strange part is that there's no indication of who sent it. Danny is excited and wants to celebrate immediately, but Andre's reaction immediately caught my attention. The moment he hears where the vintage came from, he becomes noticeably uneasy. Apparently, he spent time in that region years ago, and whatever memories it brings back clearly aren't pleasant. Things become even more suspicious when Danny steps away to answer a call from Vanessa. Andre quickly pulls out his phone and makes what seems like a very urgent call, only to discover the number has been disconnected. Then he studies the gift card as though he's trying to identify the sender. To me, this feels like one of those classic soap opera setups, where an innocent-looking gift could be connected to a dangerous secret from someone's past. I may be wrong, but Andre's behavior definitely suggests he knows more than he's saying. Elsewhere, Haley meets Randy to complain about Danny, but what really stands out is how openly she wishes Bill would die sooner. That comment alone says a lot about where her mindset is. After Haley leaves, Mona sits down with Randy and asks whether Joey has drawn him into something that's weighing on his conscience. Randy insists he's beyond saving, but Mona believes everyone deserves a chance at redemption. I actually liked this conversation because it revealed a more conflicted side of Randy. The peace doesn't last long. Haley returns and immediately insults Mona, calling her names and dismissing her completely. Randy, surprisingly, refuses to tolerate it, making it clear that he won't stand by while Haley attacks Mona. Haley then warns him to stay away from Mona, insisting that continuing to see her will only lead to trouble. That warning alone makes me think Mona could end up caught in a much bigger conflict. Smitty also moves one step closer to uncovering the truth. He asks Jacob to arrange an interview with Leah before she's transferred to a more secure facility. Although viewers don't actually see the interview, its impact becomes clear afterward when Smitty discusses it with Naomi at Orphe Jean's. According to Leah, the story surrounding Lynette is completely different from the version Haley previously shared with Naomi. That contradiction immediately raises red flags. Naomi and Smitty begin questioning everything they thought they knew, especially regarding the attack on Haley. Then June overhears the discussion and adds another layer by insisting the entire case feels suspicious. She defends Wesley, the man arrested for the attack, claiming he'd never hurt a woman. Naomi doesn't hesitate to respond, calling Haley a two-faced liar, while pointing out that telling the truth about someone's character isn't a crime. I think this storyline is building toward a major revelation because there are now too many conflicting accounts for them all to be true. Meanwhile, Anita receives help from Laura around the mansion before surprising her with an elegant diamond necklace. It's Anita's way of expressing gratitude because Laura encouraged her to keep her doctor's appointment. Without that push, Anita believes the cancer would have continued spreading and she might not have survived. I thought this was one of the episode's most heartfelt moments, reminding viewers how even small acts of kindness can completely change someone's future. Jacob also checks in on Bill, expressing concern over his condition. Bill predictably brushes him off, insisting Jacob should focus on his own wife instead. Still, after witnessing Bill nearly collapse earlier, it's becoming increasingly difficult to ignore the possibility that his health is spiraling out of control. By the end of the episode, there are more questions than answers. Bill's worsening condition, Andre's mysterious reaction to the champagne, the conflicting stories surrounding Haley's attack, and the growing suspicion that someone is hiding a dangerous secret all leave the story in a fascinating place. Looking ahead, The preview teases that another familiar face is about to return to Fairmont Crest. Based on the way the promo is framed, I don't think this will be a happy reunion for everyone. In fact, it feels like this arrival could shake up several storylines at once. I may be right or wrong, but if the writers are building toward another major reveal, this returning character could be the catalyst that changes everything. I think this episode quietly builds several emotional storylines, while also pushing one of the biggest villain plots forward. To me, the contrast between Naomi's deeply personal medical decision and Haley's cold-blooded scheme against Bill makes the entire episode feel even more intense. The strongest material centers around Naomi, Anita, and Danny. Danny desperately wants Anita to convince Naomi not to go through with a double mastectomy, but Anita refuses to interfere. I actually understand Anita's position here. She reminds Danny that this is Naomi's body and ultimately Naomi's decision. Rather than trying to control her daughter, Anita chooses to listen, support, and understand. To me, that's a much more compassionate approach, even if it isn't the answer Danny wants to hear. Meanwhile, Bill reacts far more calmly than I expected after Naomi reveals she carries the BRCA gene. Instead of making the conversation about himself, he comforts her, which was surprisingly mature. Then Naomi asks about his own health, and Bill casually mentions that Haley is already putting together a diet and exercise plan for him. Naomi's sarcastic reaction says everything, because viewers already know Haley has very different intentions. When Anita later meets privately with Naomi, the emotional weight really lands. Naomi explains that she has thoroughly researched preventive surgery and simply cannot endure what Anita experienced. She believes watching cancer develop would destroy her emotionally, so she wants to eliminate the risk before it has the chance. Anita doesn't pressure her or question her research. Instead, she promises unconditional support. Naomi admits she and Danny may never agree on this decision, but Anita believes their family always finds a way to unite when it matters most. I thought this was one of the episode's most heartfelt scenes because it focuses on understanding rather than winning an argument. On the complete opposite end of the emotional spectrum, Haley and Randy continue plotting behind everyone's backs. During another one of their supposedly secret meetings at Uptown, Haley reveals that she directed Smitty toward investigating Lynette's disappearance. More disturbingly, she explains her latest plan for Bill. She intends to push him into an intense exercise routine while secretly continuing the drug that's making him sick. Her goal isn't simply to weaken him. She wants the symptoms to become so severe that he ends up in the morgue instead of the hospital. Randy does offer one warning, telling her not to increase the dosage because investigators could detect it. That conversation makes it clear they're thinking several steps ahead. Haley wastes no time putting her plan into motion. She delivers Bill a healthy smoothie at work, and ironically, he actually enjoys it. He's much less excited when she announces he'll be hitting the treadmill the following day. Looking back, the smoothie scene feels incredibly sinister because viewers already know Haley isn't trying to improve his health. A lighter storyline introduces a potential new romance. At Orphegene's, Deanna steps in to help a struggling musician after his credit card is declined and he can't pay June. The musician, Noah, gives Deanna his phone number so she can request reimbursement later, and she discovers he's from Los Angeles. Since his phone has died, he asks for directions to Garland Memorial Hospital. When Deanna mentions her father once worked there, Noah immediately recognizes the sadness she still carries from losing him, because he also lost his mother. I thought that shared experience created an instant emotional connection between them. After Noah leaves, Deanna admits to June that she really felt a spark with him, but assumes she'll never see him again. June, however, notices the chemistry and seems convinced fate isn't finished with them yet. Sure enough, their paths cross again at Garland Memorial. Nicole recognizes Noah from old photographs as Kyle's son and reunites father and son. Unfortunately, the touching reunion quickly becomes awkward when Kyle realizes Noah has shown up because he's broke once again. Rather than simply handing over money, Kyle offers a deal. He'll help financially, but only if Noah applies for a management position at the free health clinic in Washington, D.C. Kyle makes it clear he isn't asking Noah to abandon music. He simply wants his son to have a stable job that allows him to continue chasing his dream. Once Noah submits the application, Kyle agrees to bail him out. Nicole then offers Kyle a place to stay while Noah temporarily crashes at his home, creating a practical solution for everyone involved. Back at Uptown, Danny catches Haley drinking champagne in the middle of the day while Bill is supposedly recovering. When questioned, Haley claims she's celebrating Bill becoming symptom-free after his hospital stay. Considering what viewers know, her cheerful toast to Bill's continued good health comes across as dark irony rather than genuine concern. The episode closes with one of its biggest cliffhangers. After finishing the smoothie Haley prepared, Bill suddenly becomes dizzy, loses his balance, and collapses onto the floor. Fighting to breathe, he struggles to get back up before asking, "What the hell is happening to me?" Knowing everything Haley and Randy discussed earlier, it's difficult not to connect the dots. Whether Bill survives or not remains to be seen, but Haley's plan appears to be entering its most dangerous phase. The preview for the next episode teases even more trouble ahead. Andre becomes alarmed after Danny receives a mysterious gift, while Haley warns Randy to stay away from Mona. I could be right or wrong, but it feels like several secrets are getting dangerously close to being exposed, and Haley's carefully constructed scheme may not stay hidden much longer. Greg Vaughn's recent social media post has sparked a lot of speculation among Beyond the Gates fans, with many wondering if his time as Dr. Kyle Rollins could be coming to an end. I think the post is open to interpretation, but there are a few details that have definitely caught viewers' attention. Vaughn shared a photo of himself alongside a heartfelt message that began, "My heart is full. My purpose is just getting started." From there, he reflected on his life, his family, the people who have supported him, and the lessons that have shaped his journey. He wrote that every challenge he has faced has become preparation, while every blessing has given him a new perspective. He also expressed gratitude for how far God has brought him, and said he was excited about whatever comes next. Vaughn went on to thank everyone who has been part of his journey, including his family, friends, fans, and colleagues, saying their encouragement has meant more than they know. However, it was the final line of his message that really got fans talking. "Here's to the next chapter." To me, that single sentence is what fueled all the exit rumors. It sounds significant, but it doesn't necessarily mean he's leaving Beyond the Gates. Actors often use similar wording when they're reflecting on life, celebrating milestones, or teasing new opportunities. I may be wrong, but I don't think that line alone is enough to confirm anything. The speculation grew even stronger after his co-star, Robert Christopher Riley, who plays Dr. Carlton Fitzgerald, replied to the post with, "Love and miss you, buddy." That comment certainly raised eyebrows. Since Kyle and Carlton have spent months sharing scenes through their rivalry over Nicole Dupree, fans naturally wondered if Riley's message hinted that Vaughn had already finished filming. There is another reason people are reading into that comment. Beyond the Gates reportedly films about 4 months before episodes air. If that's still the production schedule, Riley saying he misses Vaughn could suggest they are no longer working together on set. Then again, social media comments rarely tell the whole story, so I wouldn't treat that as confirmation either. Interestingly, there are just as many reasons to believe Kyle isn't going anywhere. Nick Haglund recently debuted as Noah Rollins, Kyle's son, introducing an entirely new branch of Kyle's family to the series. From a storytelling perspective, it would seem unusual to bring in his son, only to write Kyle out shortly afterward. On top of that, Noah already appears to be settling into Fairmont Crest, and there are early signs that a romance with Deanna McBride could be developing. If that storyline continues, it gives Kyle even stronger ties to the canvas. Of course, soap operas are famous for surprising viewers. Characters can disappear just as quickly as they arrive, and story plans can change without much warning. It's also possible that another character's future is the one in question, rather than Kyle's. At this point, neither Beyond the Gates nor Greg Vaughn has announced that he's leaving the show. Until an official statement is made, every theory remains just that, a theory. Vaughn joined Beyond the Gates in December 2025 as the recurring Dr. Kyle Rollins, and despite not being a contract player, he's made a memorable impact. His storyline, especially the complicated triangle involving Nicole Dupree and Dr. Carlton Fitzgerald, has added plenty of drama and emotional conflict to the series. Longtime soap fans also know Vaughn from his memorable run as Lucky Spencer on General Hospital from 2003 to 2009. He later became a fan favorite as Eric Brady on Days of Our Lives, a performance that earned him a Daytime Emmy Award in 2018. For now, I think the evidence is mixed. The emotional social media post and Riley's comment certainly make the rumors understandable, but the recent introduction of Kyle's son points in the opposite direction. Until the show confirms otherwise, it seems more reasonable to view this as fan speculation rather than proof that Greg Vaughn is leaving Beyond the Gates. Whether the next chapter refers to his personal life, another professional opportunity, or simply a new phase in his career remains to be seen. I think Beyond the Gates may have quietly introduced a character who could become much more important than he first appeared. Ever since Nicole's marriage fell apart, she's admitted she's been enjoying life with both Carlton and Kyle. At first, it felt like she didn't need to choose between them. But now that she's finally accepting Ted has moved on, I was wondering if she's getting ready to settle into a more serious relationship again. If that happens, and Keel is the man she chooses, it won't just change Nicole's love life. It could expand her family as well. This week, we finally met Kyle's youngest son, Noah, and I think he made quite an impression despite his brief introduction. Noah is a struggling musician who's constantly short on money. His financial situation was obvious right away when he couldn't even pay for lunch at Orphe Jeans and had to rely on Deanna to cover the bill. It was a simple scene, but I think it established exactly who Noah is, a talented dreamer trying to make it in a difficult industry. Of course, that's often the reality for aspiring artists. They're passionate about their craft, even if success hasn't arrived yet. The role is played by daytime newcomer Nick Hagelin, and I found it interesting that his real-life background mirrors his character in several ways. Hagelin is an accomplished musician outside of acting, and is also a trained ballet dancer, bringing genuine artistic experience to the role. Although this is his first daytime soap, he isn't entirely new to the genre's world. In 2025, he appeared in Exit Interviews, a film featuring One Life to Live alumnus Tuck Watkins and General Hospital actor Adam Huss. While it's not a soap opera itself, I think that connection makes his transition into daytime television feel like a natural step. One thing that immediately crossed my mind is how Beyond the Gates has embraced musical performances throughout its run. Because of that, I wouldn't be surprised if Noah eventually gets the chance to perform on screen. In fact, after his first meeting with Deanna, I could easily imagine him thanking her for helping him out with a song. It would be a fun way to repay her kindness while also opening the door to a little romance between them. Whether Noah finally catches his big break as a musician or ultimately follows Kyle's wishes by putting his business degree to work, I think his arrival gives the series another fresh storyline to explore. He brings youthful energy, artistic ambition, and plenty of possibilities for future drama. I may be right or wrong, but my first impression is that Noah isn't just a one-off character. He feels like someone the writers have introduced with long-term plans in mind, and I'm curious to see whether his music, his relationships, or his family ties end up shaping his future in Fairmont Crest. I think Friday's Beyond the Gates is shaping up to be one of those episodes where emotions quietly build until they finally spill over. On the surface, Kat seems annoyed by Chelsea's live stream with Eva, but to me, it feels like there's something much deeper going on. It doesn't really look like simple frustration. It looks like jealousy and insecurity. Chelsea originally wanted Kat to take over the Chelsea Cat social media account and share her own experience after her transplant. Kat made it clear that she wasn't interested in doing that. Instead, she encouraged Chelsea to ask Eva if she wanted to tell her story. At the time, it seemed like a reasonable decision. But once the live stream actually happens, Kat's reaction completely changes. From what we see in the weekly preview, the live stream doesn't just become a conversation about Eva's transplant. It starts to look like Chelsea and Eva are genuinely bonding, and that appears to hit Kat harder than she expected. When Kat says, "Eva already won over my dad, my boyfriend, and now she finally got you too," I think that line reveals what she's really afraid of. To me, it isn't about the live stream itself. It's about Kat feeling like she's slowly losing the people closest to her as Eva continues becoming part of the family. Whether Kat is right or wrong, those insecurities seem very real, and Chelsea will probably have to reassure her before this misunderstanding grows into something much bigger. Meanwhile, Heather returns to town, and I have a feeling her visit won't be a friendly family reunion. The last time she and Joey spoke, she wanted them to work together again, but Joey turned her down, and Heather went back to London. Now she's back, claiming she has some loose ends to tie up. Knowing Heather's reputation as the Impaler, that explanation immediately raises red flags for me. It sounds less like unfinished business and more like the beginning of another dangerous chapter. I could be wrong, but I wouldn't be surprised if her return creates even more chaos than anyone expects. Elsewhere, Vanessa steps in to comfort Danny, and Danny certainly has plenty weighing on her mind. The revelation about BRCA has completely changed her perspective, especially after Naomi finally admitted she had been hiding the truth for months and is also a carrier. On top of that, Danny is still carrying the emotional burden of her night with Bill, while also worrying about his health. That combination of guilt, uncertainty, and concern makes this one of the more emotionally complicated stories right now. I think Vanessa's support may be exactly what Danny needs as she tries to process everything happening around her. Another storyline that caught my attention involves Elon and Jacob. Just as Elon and Isaiah seem to be making progress in their relationship, Elon is forced into what sounds like a difficult conversation with his son. I'm wondering whether this is connected to work. It could involve the undercover operation Marcel previously mentioned, or it may have something to do with Heather's unexpected return. Since Heather is back in town, it would make sense for law enforcement to be on alert, and Jacob may need information he isn't going to like hearing. Overall, I think this episode balances emotional family drama with growing suspense. Kat's jealousy could create new tension within the family. Danny continues facing deeply personal struggles, and Heather's arrival has all the ingredients for a dangerous new mystery. Whether these stories unfold exactly as they seem or take an unexpected turn, Friday's episode looks like it could set up several major developments for the weeks ahead. Beyond the Gates. Spoilers for Friday, July 24th. Heather returns. Jacob faces bad news, and Kat reaches her breaking point. I think Friday's episode is shaping up to be one of those installments where several storylines collide at once. Between Heather Armstrong's unexpected return, Jacob Hawthorne receiving troubling news, and Kat Richardson struggling with growing jealousy, there seems to be plenty of drama unfolding. The biggest development, in my opinion, is Heather Armstrong's return. Better known as the Impaler, Heather surprises her brother, Joey Armstrong, by revealing that she's back to tie up some loose ends. That line immediately made me wonder if she's talking about the missing plasma ring. It certainly feels like there's unfinished business surrounding that storyline, and I don't think her visit is going to be anything close to peaceful. To me, Joey now finds himself in an impossible position. If Heather is determined to finish what she started, he could be forced to choose between protecting his sister and doing what's right. I may be wrong, but it really feels like he's about to get caught in the middle of a dangerous situation that could change everything. I'm also wondering whether Jacob Hawthorne is Heather's real target. After all, Jacob was the undercover cop who destroyed her entire criminal operation. If she's looking for revenge, he seems like the obvious person she'd go after. That possibility becomes even more interesting when Jacob's father, Elon Hawthorne, delivers some bad news. The timing doesn't feel like a coincidence, and I can't help thinking the two storylines are connected. Another storyline that caught my attention involves Kat Richardson. She becomes furious over Eva Thomas appearing on Chelsea Hamilton's live stream. On the surface, it may seem like a small issue, but I think it represents something much deeper. The recent preview made it look like Kat believes Eva is slowly winning over everyone important in her life. First her father, then her boyfriend, and now Chelsea. Whether Kat is right or simply letting her insecurities take over, her frustration seems to be reaching a breaking point. I was wondering if Chelsea might be able to reassure Kat before these feelings spiral into something much worse. But at this stage, Kat's jealousy appears to be growing stronger with every episode. Meanwhile, Vanessa McBride steps in to comfort Danny Dupree. I'm not entirely sure what Danny is struggling with this time, but there are two obvious possibilities. It could be connected to Naomi Hawthorne's BRCA gene test results, which have already created emotional tension. On the other hand, Danny may still be carrying guilt over her one-night stand with Bill Hamilton and the secrets surrounding Andre Richardson. Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if both issues are weighing heavily on her at the same time. Overall, I think Friday's episode is setting the stage for several major turning points. Heather's return could reignite one of the show's most dangerous rivalries. Jacob may be facing a serious threat. Kat's emotions are becoming harder to control. And Danny continues to wrestle with emotional burdens that refuse to disappear. I may be right or wrong, but this episode feels less like a standalone chapter and more like the beginning of the next major phase in several ongoing storylines. If that's the case, the consequences of Friday's events could continue to shape the drama for weeks to come.